Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. This is Warren from Batten Journal, and we are back today with another book review of the Horus Heresy. And today we're going to talk about Book 4, The Flight of the Eisenstein by James Swallow. Now, this, as I mentioned in my last review, this is the direct follow up to Book 3. And when I say follow up, I mean it covers events that happen after Book 3, but in a twist, you can say, it also covers some of the events before that that are covered in book 3 as well. So now, this book, it's fully from the perspective of the Death Guard, and specifically, we're following our main character, who is Nathaniel Garrow, who's the captain of the Seventh Company, and he is affectionately referred to as the Battle Captain, which is some kind of a tradition that the Legion has followed from like the earliest times. He's a special guy. He's one of the last few Terran Marines left in the Legion, and he is also a bit of a, as Torgadon would call Garviel, he's also a bit of a straight arrow. He's focused. He's fully devoted to the Emperor, and that's his end all and be all. He's devoted to the Emperor, to his Legion, and he will not tolerate any deviation from the norm. Which, as we find out from the other three books, that's really not gonna stand for much longer because he's gonna have his worldview challenged, and he's really going to have to struggle to make some really difficult choices in this book. And for a long time, I've held this one as well to be one of my favorite books from the Heresy. Not too high on the list, I have to say, but definitely it's certainly above average in that top quarter. Excuse me. But also, it's the wonderful thing about it is it's a lot like the first book, Horus Rising, which is primarily and almost entirely told from the perspective of the Luna Wolves. And, we flip that around this time with a different Legion, with a different Primarch. They have completely different sensibilities. And as such, I really like that James delves into some of the aspects of the Death Guard culture as a Legion, as, whatever things, whatever traditions and ceremonies that formed around Mortarion, especially after he was found on Barbarous. Now, having said that, also, I think that there is certainly room in this novel to explore that a little bit more because we focus a bit too much on Nathaniel's feelings, and at times it feels like the story is getting bogged down with those character scenes, which sometimes character scenes, they can be a huge plus, they can be a huge minus, they can be a little bit of a plus, a little bit of a minus, they can be average. But on this time, I think overall, if you take them together, the character scenes fall just a little bit above average because I felt like I haven't read this novel in like 15 years, So to me, it felt like we spent a little bit too much time with Nathaniel and not enough on some supplementary characters, which would have done a lot to enhance the different levels of relationships that he has within the Legion. Because, we have his fellow captains, such as First Captain Typhus, or as he's known at that time, Callus Typhon. We have the second captain, Ignis. No, I'm totally getting that wrong. What's his name? Yes, Ignatius. I'm actually right. Ignatius Grogor. And there's also his friend, Olus Timitor, captain of the Fourth Company. Always good to have the book handy for these things. I felt like we didn't delve enough into the relationships that he has with Grolgor or with Typhon or even with Timitor because we take a lot of stuff here at face value, and I felt like that is part of the characterization in the book that could have been focused a little bit more on. And because, just generally, we know, or as the lore aware person knows, Callus Typhon is going to become Typhus in a few decades. He's going to become this huge character in 40K as the herald of the plague god Nurgle. But we don't have enough here. We know he's in cahoots with Abaddon and with Julius Caesarion of the Emperor's Children and with some of the other first captains or prominent Legion officers of senior rank. But we don't really get a good sense of who Typhon is as a person. And the same goes for Goldor. He comes across as just this guy who has a chip on his shoulder. He just hates Nathaniel. He just hates what he represents, and he just signs up with Typhon. Is like, yeah, man, I'm gonna do what you want me to do, and I'm not gonna think twice about it because I hate this guy. So it's a little bit more like it's a little bit Sunday morning cartoon villain or Saturday morning cartoon villain, however you want to look at that. And there wasn't enough meat in his characterization. Although, if we contrast that to a bit of a surprise villain towards the end of the novel, I felt that he got a lot better characterization, and we had reasons for why he is antagonistic towards Nathaniel. And that's the kind of stuff that is really the meat and bones of the novel. And coincidentally, not coincidentally, consecutively alongside all of that, what I really enjoyed was that we finally got a good look at one of the supplementary military organizations of the Great Crusade, which is the Sisters of Silence. Now, they are an elite force that is used by the Emperor to deal with psychers and stuff. And this is the first, I believe this is the first instance we ever see such a character in the novels, up till this point at least. And, seeing so many of them was certainly a trip. And they add a certain amount of, I wouldn't say validation, but it's more like, it's adding another layer of lore to the events that's covered in the novel. And we see that a lot of how intertwined all of that is, because they do become significant in the latter half of the novel. And certainly, down the line, they're going to become much bigger characters, especially towards the end during the siege of Terra itself, and even 10,000 laters in 40K, where they have this big resurgence. If you read the novels by Chris Rake, which are fantastic, highly recommended reads. So, anyways, getting back to the Flight of the Eisenstein. So this book starts off just a little bit before Istvan 3, and we see how the Death Guard function as a legion, especially when they're led by none other than Mortarion, their Primarch. And we start to get little bits of drips and stuff of lore about them, about how they function as a legion. And then it's just pedal to the metal with the siege of Istvan 3 and the battle to retake the cities. And eventually, as it happens, the Horus's turn as a traitor. And I think the horror and the confusion of that moment is captured really well in this novel because, I mean, come on, Nathaniel Garrow, he's a hero. We know that from book 3, but this is his in-depth look. And, those scenes where it's like, the pace really slows down in the novel and you have so many characters reacting to the situation, whether it's the Astartes or the ship officers that Garrow's commanding, or any of the other supplementary characters around them. And it's just like, it's this huge, like, pool of confusion, and no one knows what's happening, what exactly is going on. And then, Nathaniel has to make these hard decisions. And the second half of the novel is where I think Garrow's character really shines. And from then on, it's just like, this is like full out. James is, he's delivering on one thing after another, and we get the frenetic jump that the ship makes, the Eisenstein, that it makes from the Istvan 3 system to head for Terra to warn the loyalist forces of what's happened here, that Horus has gone mad and he's turned traitor along with 3 other legions, and that they've wiped out so many of his brothers, his cousins, as they often call each other. And, there's this internal agony that you can see reflected not just in Garrow, but in some of his supplementary characters, like sergeant of his command squad, or the apothecary that's attached to his company, or even his champion. And, it's like, this is the kind of stuff that I really like reading about in Horus Heresy. Of course, first and foremost, I'm here just for all the bolter action. I'm just here for legionaries fighting each other, slaughtering things left and right, and tanks blowing up, and titans showing up, and everything, and what have you. But of course, on a second level, I do care about the characters, and I think the second half of the book is miles better than the first half of the book. And we see so many firsts in this novel, and some of that even reflects things that we've seen before, such as in book two when Horus comes to Davin and he is going up against Eugene Temba, the governor he left in charge of the planet like 10, 15 years, 20 years back, or whatever it was. And the Luna Wolves, they land on Davin, and they're immediately sucked up in this fight against plague bearers and some other Nurgle demons. And we have like a bit of a flip on that in the middle of the novel, where we see the first instances of plague marines, and that was like it sends goosebumps up your spine and stuff whatnot. And it's like that's the stuff like so it's a perfect harmony in the second half between the world of 30K and what we will eventually come to know in 40K. And that transition stuff that's been a through line through all the novels so far, certainly in this one. And that's one of the highlights of this book. So anyways, yes, great characters for the most part. Some of the characterization could have been a little bit better. The pace is mostly okay, and we certainly have some amazing scenes, such as when the first fight in the book, in the opening chapters, when it ends and Mortarion has this little ceremony he does with Garrow to celebrate the victory. It informs more about who Mortarion is as a character, which was sorely needed, I have to say. And it's something I'm looking forward to reading in book 5 with Fulgrim, because it covers everything but Fulgrim and his legion. So that was a highlight. And then even towards the end, when we meet another major Primarch, and we see some more characters around the imperial machinery that the emperor has instituted, and it's stuff like that that really makes this whole heresy come alive, because you see this is like I said in the previous review, all of this, even book 4, book 5, and even like book 6, they're all about the opening gambits of the heresy. There's so much confusion and people are not believing each other, and they need like this cold hard evidence, but some things they take on faith, because the galaxy has gone mad and they need some familiar stuff to hold on to, believe in. And in hindsight, that's actually a great highlight of the book, because that informs so much about Yarrow's character in the book. And because he is part of this legion that has gone traitor, and he has to forsake all these oaths that he made, and he has to leave his honor brother behind, Saul Tarvitz, and he has no idea what's going to happen next, and he's just caught up in this huge web that he literally cannot control. And does he surrender himself to it, or is he going to take steps to change things? And that's part of the fascination towards the end, which thankfully I know very well from my years reading the series that that's gonna be discovered down the line, which is absolutely fantastic stuff. So I'm really looking forward to getting to that point in the series down the line with the audio dramas and the novel that came out of it, with the that collected all the audio dramas with some new short stories and stuff. And so yes, James Swallow does pretty damn good work here. And again, this is a novel that launches so many more threads of the ongoing narrative, and you really have to be along for the ride, man. Like, I can't stress this enough. The first 4 books, amazing, fantastic. You cannot skip these books if you want to get into the series. You have to read them in order, and you have to read them like like this only. This is the way you got to do it, because otherwise you're just gonna be like, okay, I don't know this, I don't know that. But in these first 4 books, they give you all the basics you need to learn about these characters and everything. The legions, the primarchs, the senior Astartes, and everybody, and even some of the mortals, the remembrancers, and the others. So Yes, recommended read. Get to it when you can. I'll catch you guys later. Be sure to check out my socials, and I'll be back soon with some more reviews once I get through a few more books. Cheers, guys.